The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and ruby as Michael stepped onto the platform. It was late, the kind of late where the air felt thin and quiet, and the few people around moved like shadows. He clutched his worn backpack a little tighter, a familiar ache of loneliness settling in his chest. Another day had folded into night, and he was heading home, just as he always did on the last train. The train itself was a long, silver snake, its windows reflecting the dim station lights like sleepy eyes. A low hum vibrated through the platform, promising movement and speed. Michael found himself drawn to it, a strange mix of weariness and a faint hope for something, anything, to break the quiet routine of his life. He pushed open the heavy door, the whoosh of air conditioning a cool kiss on his face. Inside, the car was mostly empty. A few tired faces were scattered here and there, lost in their own thoughts or staring blankly out the windows. Michael walked down the aisle, his footsteps echoing softly on the carpeted floor. He passed rows of vacant seats, each one seeming to whisper of journeys taken and stories untold. He chose a window seat near the middle of the car, setting his backpack on the floor beside him. He leaned his head against the cool glass, watching the last of the station lights shrink into pinpricks. The train gave a gentle lurch, then a stronger pull, and began to glide forward. The city, with its towering buildings and endless glow, slowly began to recede. Michael felt a familiar pang. He often wondered if anyone else felt this quiet emptiness, this longing for something more than just the hum of the tracks and the lonely ride home. He sighed, settling deeper into his seat, preparing for another uneventful journey into the night. The rhythmic sway of the train became a gentle lullaby as Michael watched the last gasps of the city lights disappear. First, the tall, bright towers gave way to smaller, scattered homes, their windows glowing like warm, distant eyes. Then, even those faded, replaced by the deep, inky black of the countryside. He saw his own reflection in the window, a vague shape against the fleeting darkness outside, looking a little sad and lost. The train picked up speed, the wheels singing a steady, low hum against the tracks. It was a sound he knew well, a constant companion on these late-night trips. The world outside became a blur of dark shapes and deeper shadows, occasionally pierced by the flash of a distant headlight or the lonely sparkle of a star. Inside the train, the overhead lights cast a soft, yellow glow, making the empty seats look even more forlorn. Michael pulled his jacket tighter around him, even though the train was warm. It was more for comfort, a small barrier against the quiet chill of being alone. He thought about the day, a jumble of work and small, forgettable moments. Nothing exciting ever seemed to happen. He longed for something different, a flicker of surprise, a break in the pattern. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the train's motion rock him. When he opened them again, the world outside was completely dark, a vast, silent canvas. He saw the train's speed reflected in the quick, ghost-like streaks of light that occasionally flew by. The roar of the tracks grew louder, a powerful, steady sound that filled the quiet car. It was just him, the rumbling train, and the endless night. He sighed, wishing for something to fill the quiet. Lost in the steady rhythm of the train and the dark canvas outside, Michael barely noticed when a shadow fell across the aisle. A tall figure paused, then, with a soft rustle of clothing, settled into the seat right next to him. Michael's eyes snapped open. He hadn't expected anyone to sit so close, especially with so many empty seats available. A small wave of nervousness fluttered in his stomach. He glanced sideways, quickly, trying to be subtle. The man had dark hair that fell just over his ears and a strong, quiet way about him. He was wearing a dark jacket, and his hands, long and graceful, rested calmly on his lap. Michael quickly looked back at the window, his heart thumping a little faster than before. He felt a sudden shyness, a feeling he hadn't expected. The new presence changed the air in the small space. Before, it was just Michael and the hum of the train. Now, there was someone else, close enough that he could feel a faint warmth from their body, hear the soft brush of their breath. He wondered why the man had chosen this particular seat. Was it just random, or was there a reason? Michael tried to act natural, pretending to be deeply interested in the fleeting darkness outside, but his mind was buzzing. He could feel the man's presence beside him, a quiet strength that made him both curious and a little uneasy. He wished he could steal another look, but he was afraid of seeming rude, or worse, too interested. The train continued its journey, the roar of the tracks a steady beat, but now it felt different. It was no longer just a lonely sound. It was a backdrop to this new, unexpected closeness. Michael felt a strange mix of fear and excitement, a tiny spark in the quiet night. He wondered if this was the something different he had wished for. Michael's nervousness about Aaron's presence was suddenly swallowed by a new, more profound change. The train, which had been rushing through the open night, let out a deep, echoing groan. The lights inside the car flickered once, twice, and then, with a soft click, went completely dark. Outside the window, the faint glow of the distant world vanished entirely, replaced by a solid, absolute blackness. The train had plunged into a tunnel. The sudden darkness was startling. It felt thick and heavy, pressing in on all sides. Michael's breath caught in his throat. He couldn't see anything, not the seats in front of him, not the faint outlines of the other passengers, and certainly not Aaron beside him. Everything was gone, replaced by a deep, velvety void. The only sound left was the powerful, unending rumble of the train, now amplified and echoing in the enclosed space. It filled his ears, a mighty roar that seemed to shake the very bones of the train. In this sudden, blind world, Michael felt a strange mix of fear and wonder. The train became a living beast, hurtling through an unseen path. The air grew cooler, carrying the damp scent of earth and metal. He felt utterly disconnected from the outside world, as if they had entered a secret place. The familiar hum of the air conditioning was gone, and the quiet whispers of the other passengers had ceased. Even Aaron, who had just moments ago felt so close, now felt like an unknown presence in the intense darkness. The complete absence of light made his other senses sharper. He could feel the slight vibrations of the train through the seat, the subtle shift of Aaron's body next to him. The roar of the tracks was no longer just a sound. It was a feeling that vibrated through his whole body. It was a thrilling, almost scary moment, like being suspended in a secret, speeding cave. Michael waited, his heart beating a little faster for whatever would come next in this sudden, deep night. In the profound darkness of the tunnel, with the train's roar filling his ears, Michael felt a subtle shift beside him. It was so faint, almost imperceptible, a gentle movement that could have been just the train's sway. But then, a warmth bloomed against his side. A hand, soft and firm, slipped under the edge of his jacket. It moved slowly, carefully, until it rested flat against his chest, right over his heart. Michael froze. His breath hitched, caught somewhere between surprise and a sudden, electric thrill. He couldn't see Aaron, couldn't even make out his shape in the absolute blackness, but he felt the clear, undeniable pressure of his palm. It was a bold, unexpected touch, made even more powerful by the complete secrecy of the tunnel. No one could see. No one would know. His heart, already beating fast from the sudden darkness, now pounded a frantic rhythm against Aaron's hand. He could feel the warmth of Aaron's skin, the slight rough texture of a palm, the quiet weight of fingers spread gently over his shirt. It wasn't a grab or a squeeze, but a soft, steady presence, a quiet claim in the roaring dark. Michael didn't move a muscle. He was suspended in this moment, a thrilling secret shared only between him and the unknown man beside him. The rumble of the tracks seemed to intensify, becoming a wild, powerful beat that matched the rush in his ears. Every nerve in his body was suddenly awake, tingling with an unfamiliar energy. He felt a blush creep up his neck, even though he knew no one could see it. This touch, hidden from the world, was a bold answer to his lonely wishes, a silent question asked in the deepest shadows. He wondered what Aaron was thinking, what this touch meant, but he dared not move, afraid to break the spell. The hand remained, a warm, unwavering presence against his racing heart. The surprise of Aaron's hand on his chest quickly twisted into something else, something far more complicated and thrilling. Michael's mind raced, a whirlwind of questions and feelings. Asterisk, what was happening? Why was Aaron doing this? Asterisk, yet, beneath the shock, a powerful current of excitement surged through him. It was a secret, shared only in the roaring darkness, a forbidden touch that made his skin prickle with a strange delight. His heart continued its rapid drumbeat, a wild, joyful rhythm against Aaron's palm. He could feel the gentle pressure, the steady warmth that seemed to seep right into his skin, past his shirt, and settle deep inside him. It wasn't just a touch. It felt like a silent conversation, a daring question asked without a single word. Michael found himself leaning, almost imperceptibly, closer to the warmth, drawn in by the mystery and the thrill of it all. The darkness of the tunnel, once a source of slight unease, now felt like a cozy, private cocoon. It hid them, protected them from any prying eyes. In this secret space, anything felt possible. The loneliness that had been a constant companion on his train rides vanished, replaced by a vibrant, humming energy. This was the something different he had wished for, a moment so unexpected, so bold, that it completely shook his quiet world. He imagined Aaron's face in the dark, wondering about the expression there. Was it serious? Playful? He longed to know, but dared not move, dared not speak. The simple, unwavering presence of that hand was enough. It was a silent promise, a thrilling secret that made his insides flutter. Michael closed his eyes, letting the sensation wash over him, letting the roar of the train carry them deeper into their shared, hidden moment. He was surprised, yes, but more than that, he was undeniably, wonderfully excited. With Aaron's hand a warm, steady weight against his chest, Michael became acutely aware of everything around him, especially the powerful symphony of the train. The roar of the tracks was no longer just background noise. It was a living, breathing force. It thundered through the tunnel, a deep, resonating sound that vibrated through the floor, up his legs, and into his very core. Each clack and rumble felt like a secret beat in this hidden moment. The darkness, too, was more than just an absence of light. It felt like a physical presence, a soft, velvet cloak wrapped tightly around them. The shadows were thick and deep, hiding everything, making their shared secret feel utterly safe and completely private. Michael imagined the other passengers, mere shapes in the blackness, oblivious to the silent drama unfolding beside him. The thought made the thrill even sharper. He could almost taste the cool, metallic air of the tunnel, a damp freshness that hinted at hidden depths. The train swayed gently, a continuous rock and roll that added to the dreamlike quality of the moment. He focused on the feeling of Aaron's hand, its quiet warmth, the soft pressure against his beating heart. It was a grounding point in a world that had suddenly become thrillingly unmoored. The loud sounds of the train, the endless rush and rumble, seemed to create a protective barrier. They swallowed any other noises, any potential whispers or movements from elsewhere in the car, leaving Michael and Aaron in their own bubble. It was a world woven from sound and shadow, a place where rules felt distant and unspoken desires felt close. Michael felt completely immersed, lost in the sensations, the roaring tracks, and the encompassing darkness, holding onto the secret touch as if it were the only real thing in the universe. Lost in the thrilling quiet of the tunnel, with Aaron's hand a steady warmth against his chest, a new set of thoughts began to swirl in Michael's mind. He wondered about Aaron. What was he feeling right now? Was he as surprised, as excited as Michael was? Was this a sudden impulse, or something he had planned? Michael tried to imagine Aaron's face in the impenetrable darkness, to guess at the look in his eyes, but it was impossible. The mystery only deepened the thrill. Then, another thought pricked at him, a tiny spark of worry in the vast shadows. Were they truly alone in their secret? Could anyone else on the train, those unseen shapes scattered through the car, somehow sense what was happening? He knew the darkness was absolute, a perfect cloak, but a part of him still worried. He imagined eyes trying to adjust, ears straining over the train's roar. The idea of being caught, of their private moment being seen, sent a shiver down his spine that was both fearful and strangely delicious. He squeezed his eyes shut tighter, as if that would make the secret even more secure. The roar of the tracks seemed to scream, "No one can see. No one knows." It was a wild, freeing thought. The idea of this hidden connection, this bold, silent act, happening right under the noses of unsuspecting strangers, made his heart pound with a different kind of excitement. It was a rebellion against the ordinary, a defiance against the quiet loneliness he usually felt. The train continued its relentless plunge through the tunnel, and Aaron's hand remained unwavering. Michael allowed himself to get lost in the questions, the wonder, and the delicious edge of danger. He didn't know the answers, and in the deep, thrilling darkness, he wasn't sure he wanted to. The not knowing was part of the magic, part of the secret. The questions about Aaron and the thrilling risk of being seen faded into the background, replaced by a singular, intense awareness of his own body. Michael's heart continued its frantic beat, a relentless drum against Aaron's hand. It wasn't just fast. It was a wild, pounding rhythm that seemed to shake his whole chest. He could feel it thrumming in his ears, a powerful echo of the train's roar, as if his own body had become part of the speeding machinery. The darkness of the tunnel stretched on, seemingly endless. Each second felt longer, charged with the unspoken secret between them. Michael could feel the blood rushing through his veins, warm and quick, a testament to the surging excitement that had taken hold of him. He wondered if Aaron could feel the fierce flutter beneath his palm, if he knew the profound effect his simple touch was having. The thought made a new wave of heat spread through Michael, a blush he knew no one could witness. His breath came in shallow gasps, barely enough to keep up with the demands of his racing pulse. He tried to take a deeper breath, to calm himself, but it was useless. The thrill was too strong, too new, too powerful. It was a delicious kind of panic, an exhilarating fear that mingled with the deep pleasure of the forbidden touch. He was completely alive in this moment, more alive than he had felt in a very long time. The rumble of the train filled the dark, confined space, a constant, physical presence that wrapped around them. It became a partner in their secret, a witness to the electric connection that pulsed between Michael and Aaron. Michael didn't want the darkness to end. He didn't want the hand to move. He just wanted to stay suspended in this thrilling, breathless moment, his heart beating a frantic, joyous rhythm against Aaron's warm, steady touch, as the train carried them deeper into the unknown. Just as Michael wished the thrilling darkness would last forever, a faint, almost invisible grayness began to appear at the very edge of the window. It was a subtle change, a mere thinning of the deep black. Then a tiny pinprick of distant, pale light grew slowly, steadily, in the far-off distance. The train was coming out of the tunnel. A strange mix of feelings washed over Michael. A pang of regret, knowing this secret, magical moment was about to end, mingled with a new kind of anticipation. The light grew stronger, pushing back against the heavy shadows. It wasn't the bright, harsh light of day, but a soft, milky glow, like the first hint of dawn. It stretched and widened, slowly painting the edges of the tunnel opening. The roar of the tracks, which had seemed so all-encompassing in the darkness, now began to change. It still vibrated through him, but the sharp, echoing quality softened, becoming more of a steady, forward-moving rumble. The air felt different too, no longer damp and confined, but subtly opening up. Michael could almost feel the vast, open sky waiting for them beyond the tunnel's mouth. As the light became clearer, he could make out the rough, concrete walls of the tunnel rushing past, no longer just a black void, but a tangible structure. The edges of the train car started to become visible again, the faint outlines of seats, and windows emerging from the deep shadows. It was a slow, gentle return to the world, a gradual peeling back of the protective veil that had cloaked them. Michael braced himself, his heart still thrumming. For the moment, the full light would reveal everything, including Aaron and their shared secret. The light was coming, and with it, the end of their hidden world. As the pale light at the tunnel's end grew brighter, a subtle shift occurred beside Michael. Aaron's hand, which had been a steady, warm anchor against his chest for what felt like an eternity, began to move. It was a slow, gentle withdrawal, a silent farewell to their hidden moment. Michael felt the fingers softly slide away from his skin, the palm lifting, the warmth slowly fading as it slipped out from under his jacket. A quiet sigh escaped Michael, one he hadn't realized he was holding. The physical contact was gone, but a deep, lingering warmth remained on his chest, a ghost of Aaron's touch. It wasn't just on his skin. It felt like it had seeped inside him, a pleasant, comforting heat that spread through his whole body. The sudden emptiness where Aaron's hand had been left a strange ache, a mix of longing and a soft, contented glow. The train burst fully out of the tunnel, and the car was instantly flooded with the soft, yellow glow of the overhead lights. The world outside was still dark, but now dotted with the faint, scattered lights of the countryside. Michael blinked, his eyes adjusting to the sudden illumination. He could see the other passengers again, some still sleeping, others looking out the window, none seeming to have noticed anything out of the ordinary. Their secret remained safe. He glanced quickly at Aaron, who was now sitting upright, his hands resting casually on his lap, looking calmly out the window. There was no sign that anything extraordinary had just happened. But Michael knew. He could still feel the phantom warmth, the echo of the touch, and the memory of the thrilling darkness. He pulled his jacket closed, a small, private gesture, trying to hold onto the lingering warmth, a reminder of the unexpected, secret connection that had briefly blossomed in the dark. With the train now fully in the pale light of the car, and the warmth of Aaron's hand just a memory on his chest, Michael slowly turned his head. His gaze, shy but full of a swirling mix of curiosity and daring, met Aaron's. Aaron's eyes, dark and calm, held his for a long, silent moment. There was no surprise in them, no hint of apology, only a quiet understanding that seemed to say, yes, that happened. Star. In that shared look, Michael felt a powerful connection, something deeper and more meaningful than he had ever expected from a late-night train ride. It wasn't just about the touch, but about the unspoken understanding, the shared secret held in the heart of the roaring darkness. His heart, still beating a little too fast, swelled with a feeling that was both tender and intensely exhilarating. Aaron gave the smallest, almost imperceptible tilt of his head, a gesture that Michael understood as a silent acknowledgement. There was a faint, gentle curve to the corner of Aaron's lips, not quite a smile, but something softer, more knowing. Michael felt a blush creep up his neck again, but this time it was less about fear of being caught and more about the raw, sweet emotion that blossomed within him. The connection was fragile, a delicate thread woven between them, but it felt incredibly real. It was a silent promise, a whisper of possibilities that had opened up in the heart of the tunnel. The train continued its steady rumble, carrying them through the night, but now the journey felt different. It was no longer just a trip home. It was a journey marked by a thrilling, unexpected meeting, a moment of shared vulnerability and quiet understanding. Michael held Aaron's gaze for another beat, letting the feeling of this special connection sink deep into his soul, before Aaron slowly turned his attention back to the window. The train slowed with a long, drawn-out sigh, pulling into Michael's station. The familiar announcement, slightly muffled, came over the intercom, signaling his stop. Michael gathered his backpack, his movements a little stiff, as if his body was still vibrating with the memory of Aaron's touch. He cast one last, lingering glance at Aaron, who was still looking out the window, a quiet, unreadable profile. Their eyes did not meet again. As the doors hissed open, Michael stepped onto the cool, quiet platform. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of damp concrete and distant pine trees. The train's rumble, which had been so close and encompassing just moments before, now faded behind him as he walked away. But the roar of the tracks still echoed in his mind, a powerful backdrop to the memory that was now burned into his thoughts. He walked slowly, the station lights casting long, lonely shadows around him. Every step felt different. The weight on his shoulders, usually the burden of a long, ordinary day, now felt lighter, charged with a secret energy. His hand instinctively went to his chest, touching the spot where Aaron's hand had rested. A ghost of warmth remained, a persistent, tender reminder of the forbidden touch. His mind replayed the entire thrilling ride. The sudden darkness, the gentle brush of Aaron's hand, the racing heart, the silent connection. It was a kaleidoscope of feelings, surprise, excitement, a touch of fear, and a deep, unexpected tenderness. He remembered the shadows, so thick and safe, holding their secret. He remembered the roar, a powerful guardian of their hidden moment. This wasn't just a commute. It was an adventure, a brief, electrifying journey into the unknown. The mundane had been shattered, replaced by a memory that glittered in the dark corners of his mind. He was off the train, but the ride was far from over in his thoughts. Michael walked home under the vast, quiet expanse of the night sky, feeling utterly changed. The familiar streets, usually so dull and predictable, now seemed to shimmer with a new, secret glow. He was no longer just Michael, the lonely man on the late train. He was Michael, the man who had shared a thrilling, unspoken secret in the heart of darkness. The air felt crisper, the distant sounds of the city more alive. The lingering warmth on his chest was a constant, gentle reminder, a secret ember glowing beneath his jacket. It was a feeling of being chosen, of having experienced something rare and precious. The loneliness that had often clung to him like a shadow was gone, replaced by a vibrant, humming energy. He felt lighter, more hopeful, as if a dull color had been washed away, revealing a brighter one underneath. Every step he took was accompanied by the echo of the train's roar in his memory, a powerful, rhythmic beat that celebrated the hidden moment. He thought about Aaron, his quiet presence, the daring touch, the silent, knowing glance. A new question, soft but insistent, began to form in his mind. Would he ever see Aaron again? The thought was a fragile butterfly, fluttering in his chest. Part of him yearned for another encounter, another shared secret, another brush with the thrilling unknown. Another part, the more cautious part, wondered if it had been a one-time magic, a perfect moment that should remain just as it was, untouched by the outside world. He imagined boarding the train tomorrow night, looking for that dark hair, that quiet strength. Would Aaron be there? Would he choose the seat next to him again? He reached his doorstep, the ordinary end to an extraordinary night. He knew he would never forget the roar of the tracks, the secrecy of shadows, and the thrill of being touched where no one could see. The memory would be a warm, secret treasure, a reminder that even in the quietest lives, magic could find its way in, hidden in the deepest dark.